I'm Dr. Jacqueline Duget. Welcome to What is Black podcast that focuses on issues important to raising healthy and thriving Black children and adolescents. As a pediatrician and mom of color, I saw the need to create an additional educational platform to reach parents raising kids of color to address issues and challenges that are not always discussed in the pediatrician's office. Thank you for joining us for this week's conversation. All right, welcome to another episode of What is Black podcast. Our guest today is Amanda Rodriguez. Amanda Rodriguez is a humor blogger, writer, photographer, and author whose authentic, hey girl writing style and ability to find the humor in everyday situations have touched parents for years. Amanda is also a mom of 3 sons, and also is also a mom to cute little dogs that I always see on her Instagram stories and Instagram posts. But today we're going to talk with her about her first book, which is 50 Things to Do in Baby's First Year, the First Time Mom Guides for Your Baby, Yourself, and Your Sanity, which was released in 2019. So I wanted to talk to Amanda for this episode because I love sharing resources, especially for children's resources for parents, and especially for first-time parents, because it can be very harrowing. Having had the experience as well, being a mom of 2 myself. So welcome, Amanda, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure. So as I shared in the introduction, I think it's important as part of the podcast to share resources with my listeners, especially resources like yours about parenting, especially for new moms. So when to get right into a discussion about your book, 50 Things to Do in Baby's First Year. And I was wondering if you could just share a brief summary of the book.
Sure. The book is 50 Things to Do in Baby's First Year. And it is a mom's guide to not just surviving, but thriving during your first year as a new parent. For anybody who's been there before, anyone who's just starting the journey of parenthood, I think we can pretty much all agree that it meets and exceeds our expectations in a variety of ways. And some of those are super, super challenging. Like I always say that I've never had an experience that was more in every way than my parenting experience. So it was more fulfilling. It's more challenging, more scary, more fun, more everything than I anticipated that it would be. So I wanted to write this book from the perspective of not just the basic things that you need to know about, feeding your baby and caring for your baby, but also feeding yourself and caring for yourself. And that includes your mental health and your physical health and the relationship that you have with your partner and your family and your friends, and sort of just continuing to be a person that is more than just a mom throughout the whole process.
And I think that came through in the book. And as I read the book, I love the tone of the book, and I think it really reflects even the way that you post things on your blog, say Dude Mom. Mm-hmm. So I was wondering, for me, the tone of the book, I kind of found it as fun, relatable, and colorful. And I was wondering, why that approach? I mean, I think it's probably understandable based on, like I said, how you sort of, present yourself on Dude Mom and your personality. But, most mom books, I don't think are kind of like cut and dry. It's like you do this. But I think your book does more than that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I wanted it to be sort of like you're just talking to friends. And that's how my Dude Mom is. I think my social media channels are the same way. It's like, we are just some girlfriends hanging out, and I try to be authentic and keep it real with everybody on my blog, on my social channels. And I wanted the book to sort of be the same thing. I didn't want it to come across as, judgmental or an expert's guide or anything. Because as far as I'm concerned, being an expert parent is kind of an oxymoron. You really can't perfect that process and no 2 people are going to have the same experience. So it's kind of just, sharing my perspective. The book also has a lot of other moms and other experts in different fields. So, like a chiropractor and financial health, a wealth person and that kind of stuff. So they're experts in their field weighing in on some particular topics that have to do with parenting and mothering. So I wanted to just bring in all of those perspectives, and we're just talking, we're just hanging out. This is easy. It's an easy conversation. We want to be there, to help and to connect and support other moms. And I wanted the book to come across that way. There's always so many people who are telling you exactly what you need to do and giving you quote unquote advice that, they think you have to follow, or judging things that moms are doing or shaming moms for doing certain things. And I didn't want the book to come across that way. I just wanted it to be, this is my experience and you can do this, girl, however you want to do it.
And what I really found endearing, as well as I saw a recent Instagram post that you shared, where you talked about your other your friends that are also moms, right? Mm-hmm. And the importance of having that connection. And I just wonder if you could touch a little bit about that part of the book. Because again, being a new mom, I mean, we've done it a couple times, right? And it can be an isolating experience, right? Because you go through your own personal journey being a mom, and no one can really understand your own journey. But there's a shared experience with moms, and why it's important to sort of have that connection with other moms.
Sure. Yeah. I would say, I think when I've had my first son, especially, I was always on the hunt for mom friends. I had my oldest son, I was younger than a lot of moms. And we had moved to a new area. So I left all of my friends behind. And it was sort of this experience where it was I just felt alone. And I think that's how I sort of developed my blog. I turned to this online space where there were other people that I could connect with. And those, we always have this joke with bloggers where it's online friends are real friends. Because people are oh, they're not real. But they are. They felt, and a lot of my first mom friends were people that I met online, and then have since become in real life friends with those people. So having those supportive relationships are important, at every stage of your parenting journey. And I think now it's really challenging when you have a newborn baby at home. You're trying to figure out parenting. If you work, you're trying to figure out parenting and working, and having a relationship with your partner, and trying to figure out all of these things. So it makes sense then that it's a little more challenging, or at least it was for me, to find time and space to connect with other women who were going through that same experience. But when I did, I found that my experience and myself was just so much more fulfilled. And then, developing those relationships over time, I have, some groups of friends now that a lot of them, honestly, I met through my kids, in sports and different activities and them going to school and that kind of thing. But having people to share this experience with throughout, from newborn all the way to teenager and, graduating senior and all that, it's really, it's an important part of the motherhood journey, I think.
And I think another important piece that you put in the book that I don't see a lot talking about moms, maybe I think now is starting to resonate, mm-hmm. is the issue of self-care, sure. Right? Because I think, I had a conversation with my first episode with a fellow pediatrician. We talked about a super mom. She has a podcast called Super Mom Rehab, right? Because I think especially, I guess all moms, but sometimes I feel like being an African-American mom or mom of color, I feel like there's extra pressure. And sometimes it's all about the baby. And we're okay, we're going to make sure they get into the right preschool. We got to do this right, feed them the right food, vegan or not, right? But sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. And I think again, you highlight that so well in the book. And so I just wanted to get from your perspective, why do you think sometimes moms, we forget this? And why is it important for moms to take care of themselves?
Yeah, so I learned this one from hard experience. I was a mom who was, overwhelmed, and I wanted to be the best mom ever. And I 100% forgot everything about who I was as a person and taking care of myself. I remember so many days, my husband would come home and I'm sitting on the bottom stairs, just crying, holding the baby out. we're all dirty. And I'm just like, take this thing. And I wish, like, looking back, especially, it was a learning experience, obviously. So I got better with my third one. But looking back, I wish that I would have invested the time in my own self-care and like mental health, if for no other reason than to make my experience as a mother more positive. Like, it was so easy to get caught up in like the hard things and the bad things. And I have so many fewer positive experience memories of time, like newborn, young baby time with my first son than I do with like my second and my third son. So I think it's important for moms, like, when you talk about postpartum depression, postpartum health, and just going on as like a happy mom and being able to enjoy all of the parts of your child, it's really hard to do that when you're not taking care of yourself at all. And I wanted, after having an experience where it was like, whoa, everything about that, don't remember any good things. And then my next experience, having so many positive memories, I want to remind moms that it's okay to take a step back and to take care of yourself and to make sure that you're taken care of so that you can give your best to your baby and, relish the experience that you're having with them. I wound up, I don't know if you know this, but I wound up on What Not to Wear, the TV show, because I had like entirely lost sight of every single thing about who I was as a person. So we don't all need to go through like a humiliating on-screen experience to find that, to re-find ourselves or rediscover who we are as people. And I hope that, some of the things I say on my blog and, the book as well, help people remember that before you too wind up getting humiliated on national TV.
But I think it does help, right? I think it does help to see someone else, and you can say that, oh yeah, someone else has gone through this, right? And someone is relatable and can relate to my experience.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And just, and I think there's a element of importance when, other moms say it. It's like, we all have this, whether we admit it or not. I feel like so many of us have this pressure to not necessarily impress other moms, but we don't want to be that mom. Like, none of us want to be the mom who's like, the other moms are talking about, or the other people. It's just this like societal pressure, I guess, or pressure from our families or wherever it's coming from. But we all have this idea of what we want to be as a mom, and hearing other moms say, it's okay to do this. It doesn't make you a bad mom if you are, going and letting Calgon take you away for the afternoon. That's okay. I think we all need that little bit of reassurance to know that, like, we can still be a good mom. And in fact, we may be a better mom if we are taking time to actually take care of ourselves.
I have my copy of your book, and I'm looking through it, and I, throughout the book, again, just talking about how you make the book relatable for moms. You have quotes. I'm looking at like Serena Williams quote. It says, "I've conquered a lot of things, blood clots in my lungs twice, knee and foot surgeries, winning grand slams, being down match point, to name just a few, but I found out by far the hardest is figuring out a stroller."
Right.
So that's relatable. These strollers are like, I think they're scientific experiments sometimes.
Right.
And make them so. I'm glad I don't have to do that, maybe again some point down the line whenever I have grandkids. But I think that's going to be a long time out. But I love that. I mean, you do a great job of balancing. You also have quotes from dads as well. So I really think it's a nice balance.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's parenting is one of those equalizing experiences where it's like, you could be Serena Williams or you could be Amanda Rodriguez or, whoever, but there's so many elements that we can all relate to in that experience. We've all kicked a stroller, and I for sure gave up on pack and place. Like, those things are a nightmare. So, I think there's just some experiences that we've all had, like, the kid at the grocery store, like losing their mind and, what do we do? So I wanted to make sure that came through in the book, and, just to know that people, like, we're all in this together. Like, the world is your village, really, when you're talking, especially now, if you think about I guess when, my parents were parenting me, they didn't have this easy way to connect with other people. But, we're sitting here in our separate houses talking about parenting on your podcast. And, other people can read a blog online, or we can connect through Instagram. So, as there are some elements of social media that I think we all can agree are not the best parts of social media, but I think there's some things that really help bring experiences like parenting, bring people closer together over those experiences.
Now, we talked about, the perfecting parenting, right? Sort of an oxymoron or the perfect parent. But, you have some experience. You have 3 wonderful young men that I have the fortune of knowing as well. I was just wondering, how was it like for you in writing this book about being a new mom, sort of, rethinking the experiences, your past parenting is to relive those past parenting experiences that you've had. How was that for you in writing the book?
Yeah, I think, hindsight is 20/20. So I'm like looking back now and I'm like, I think my perspective on things is a little bit different than it was when I was dead in the center of all of those experiences and moments. But in some ways, I think I was able to reflect on maybe some things that I did well and some things that I didn't do so well that I wish I would have done differently. That I really hadn't taken a moment to step back and think through those things. This thing I really liked being, taking the time to, for me, a good example is nursing my boys. I nursed all 3 of my sons past the 1-year mark. And I was fortunate to be able to do that pretty easily with it. And there were some challenges, especially with the first one, but I never, when I stopped nursing, I remember thinking, oh, thank goodness this is over. I'm so done with this. I have my body back and I'm ready to go on. But taking a moment to think through that process and that experience when I was writing the book, it really helped me appreciate a little bit more that I was able to do that with them. And, I reflected on some of the things that I actually liked about it. I liked having them close to me. I liked not getting up in the middle of the night and going downstairs to make a bottle. So those type of experiences aren't things that, you don't really have a ton of time to take a break and think back through those things and how they made you feel and, what you learned from them. But writing the book, I sort of had to do that. So that was a good thing, I think.
And I think it's a great experience, because like you said, because sometimes you forget things, and it's you having the opportunity and the privilege, I think, to sort of reflect on that to inform your writing. I think that's a great gift.
Oh, for sure. I agree.
So if you could narrow it down, what would be, you think, maybe your five top advice tips for moms?
5 advice tips for moms. Well, there's 50 in the book, but I have to.
I know.
I would say my first one is to follow your instincts. Listen to your instincts. Even a new mom's instincts are probably right. And I think we easily doubt ourselves, especially in moments of, emergency moments or moments of turmoil or stress. But I'd like to remind moms not to do that. Trust your instincts. You're probably right. And do what's right for you and your family. Don't worry about expectations or what other people are doing, what other people think you should be doing. I always say that there are no shoulds in parenting. There's nothing you should be doing. There are things that you can do. There are things you can try. There are things that make you feel good, that are right for you and your baby. But there's nothing that you just should do this. It should be done this way. The third one I would say is definitely take time for yourself. You are still a person. You are important. And if you aren't happy and cared for and loved and, bathed and fed, then it's going to be really hard to do all those things for your baby. Number 4 is probably the hardest one. And I would say it is kick the mom guilt to the curb. This is sort of a practice what I say, not what I do tip, because I will fully admit that I fall into the mom guilt trap sometimes still, especially, as a business owner and I work and, trying to find that balance between giving myself to my kids, and then not feeling guilty when I'm like, I'm going for a girls' night out tonight. Because you know what? I haven't seen my friends in 4 months. So, but don't let it stop you. Don't let the mom guilt stop you from living a full life. And then I think number 5 is gratitude. It's really easy to get caught in the negative parts of parenting, and, especially with memes and all that. It's funny to talk about, the tantrums and how awful your toddler is and all that kind of stuff. And I think we can all agree that toddlers are awful. But they're also amazing and wonderful and funny gifts that I hope that, people don't lose sight of appreciating and taking the time to just, be grateful for the gift that is your family.
I think those are great advice tips.
Thank you.
I am. And they're still applicable now, even with older kids.
Yeah.
So what is something that you have that's exciting on the horizon?
Exciting on the horizon. I'm hoping to get a nap in at some point today. Although since it's turning into a snow day, that probably isn't going to happen. I don't know. I think I've had a very, very, very emotionally full year, from like super low to super high. And so I don't really know what's coming up on the horizon. I think I'm going to write another book this year. I'm not 100% sure, especially coming right off of that experience. It's hard to convince myself to do it again. Not that it wasn't great, not that I'm not happy, but it is a lot of work. So it's hard for me to think forward into the things that I'm going to do this year, especially as I'm sort of still in this whole like promoting the book and, going on shows and doing shows and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, I guess. Exciting, probably a nap at some point.
I think I love the nap. So I think that's exciting.
Yeah.
Get it to take. I think that's great. And before we go, where can our listeners learn more about you and the book?
Yeah, so you can follow my blog. It's dudemom.com. And on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, whatever, I'm at the Dude Mom, because somebody had Dude Mom. And you can get the book on Amazon. You might be able to find the book in your local store. I can't say for sure which stores because it's in lots of stores, but if all else fails, go to Amazon.com and you can grab the book there in print or in Kindle version.
Thank you so much, Amanda. It was great talking with you today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on What is Black podcast. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And for more information about the podcast, our blogs, and subscribe to our upcoming newsletter, go to our website at whatisblack.co. As always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode. And don't forget to leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. Until next time, thank you for listening.